Your Sunday supplements are ready and they go like this. Ever wondered what life for an insider from a foreign land is like? We dip into perspective. 6. When should we be told about it, and what would we have liked our parents to tell us about it?
Everything that you need to know from the moment that you get your first period as a woman.
We meet an insider who had to pay the hard way for anger he let get to him.
I ended up taking her life, something that I really regret. I spent 7 years, got out wrong.
Is this a new industry? Will there be new businesses? We speak marijuana. What's the situation? And a power person from an industry goddess, Mam Lillian Dube.
But work about one television in Kajuk. One not a lente, Tabafella could by tutore, a from peba.
But first, let's switch it up with Mashaya Pote.
Homie, don't worry, hold up. No gossip being all skinny. There's another truth, so start tuning in. Can't tell a guy. Come, yes, social issues, this so easily. Giving you the latest news so instantly. Gender we tighter, keep the channel locked on Mzansi Insider.
Yo. Mashabuka gamambo kingvela bahlelo zamalek Japan isitanga sa Japan ubaba wakho sa Japan no wasa KZN. This is digital Maskandi. When I'm done, sebenza ngathi vela bahleka bangazi juluka into bemanzi sansi flow sayini flow bonke abashana bayazi umlekhekheni nejazi uthathe wena uyangazi hlala ngithengisa amadata hlala ngithethisa ngaqala bo intombi zami zakudala bo amuqabula ngamkapha bo futhi nezinyo lekoti yo qoma abafana bebhola wifi Motorola tshantsa kuze phumela bema kuze phumela ngathi Amfita kopile, makoto koile, bafuna ukudlala ngawe. Malibuki thuna lami ngaduba, thabathu hlaka lami mina ngayiguba. Ingilozi yokuqala yangivusa, emaweni ezintabeni yanginyusa. Yaxosha inkungu emehlweni, nonyembeze emehlweni. Bona intombi zilandelana zilibangise emkehlweni. Angisoze ngilalele usathane ngamziba, angisoze ngilahle ubuntu bami nginzule. Emaweni, wow, emaweni.
What a moment!
Easy, man. How are you, bro?
I'm fantastic.
Awesome, man. Thank you for having me, man.
Jeez, man, what a performance!
Well, it's not really a brand new song. We dropped it last year, but it was for the digital kids. It was the internet drop, so we just put it out on iTunes. Shout out to Kevin.
Let's speak about the digital kids, man. You're bringing it. It's digital maskandi.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a bit about the genre that you're doing, because people who don't know Umashaya might not get it.
Cool. For those who do not know who Mashaya is just a guy from KZN. He speaks Zulu. That's his first language. And he's just trying to preserve... Okay. Namhlanje akasiswami. Ngifikile la kuMzansi Insider ngiyabonga kakhulu. Ngibulisa wonke umuntu emakhaya sengikhuluma njengabantu baseJozi. Ngibulisa wonke umuntu emakhaya. Ma, nonto nawe ekhaya.
Ushaya Zulu mase Paris. We know you were in Paris.
Yes, sir.
Doing major things.
Yes,
Tell us about your ventures, brother.
eParis mkhulu bekumnandi kakhulu. Siyaba nenhlanhla nje ukuthi uMashabhuqe amenye kuthiwa woza nawe uzonandisa. Siyalibona ikhono lakhe italent siyawuthanda umculo wenzayo eMzansi. Lesando yenzayo sikwazile phela nokinspire abantu abaningi ukuthi bayenze lento yenzayo. So siyajabula mawukuthi ukhuthaza abantu ngezamasiko. Umculo wakho unamasiko, umculo wakho uneculture phakathi. Kwathiwa woza Mashaw uzodlala nathi saye Afro Punk Paris.
Let's talk about your music video. Before you bounce on out of here, let's talk about your music video that was nominated
It
in
was
Poland.
screening in Krakow Film Festival in Poland. Shandaraba Ekelemende, you remember that? Yeah. 2015. Sani Chenisa ukuthi umsebenzi wendoda yemnyama mfishane unjani. Well, yeah, it was screening there, bro. I'm excited about TV.
How does something like that happen, bro?
That it was to tell you the truth, because we got picked up by Fader, and then...
Are you serious?
What are you talking about, bro? I've been grinding, bro. Why are you guys acting as if like I just woke up now and be like, you guys were sleeping on me last year.
You're putting us in danger zones. You're putting us in danger zones. You guys were sleeping on me last year. Get out of here, Mashaya.
How are you guys doing? Mashaya says we're sleeping on him. Best you believe we're not sleeping on him.
We've been sleeping on him. What you talking about? But we're awake now.
Hello. We're going to straight into it. I don't even know how to speak.
It's the lineup, man. It's crazy. Check it out.
The lineup.
Police arrived on a tip-off that we had some sort of laboratory going here. They were calling us criminals, and all we were doing is smoking weed in our lounge.
You know, and then that fear developed into hatred. I hated her so much, then I started developing the thought of taking her life.
We're talking the taboos, what our parents don't tell us, and owning your sex life.
So it just depends on where you grew up. So some parents, they're willing, they're open about the whole sex talk. I know I've never had the conversation at home.
So you
because
never ever?
No, never. My mom was just like, listen, you have your period, wear a pad, it's fine.
Young in a foreign country living as a South African.
Are you faced with nationality issues, discrimination, stereotypes, or even xenophobia? We got an insider who gave us their perspective on being foreign in South Africa. Have a look.
My name is Naseem Sharif. I just graduated from medical school at the University of the Witwatersrand. I'm an Ethiopian who's from Botswana, and it's a very small country, Botswana. Not a lot of stuff happening there. Since Johannesburg is so diverse with people, it's very easy to fit in. There's so many different kinds of people in Johannesburg. I'm not sure if it's the same in other universities, but Johannesburg is a lot of different kinds of people that nobody really thinks of where you're from or anything. They just take you as you are. I've just graduated, and a lot of my friends have already started working. And there's a lot of like bureaucracy in the system kind of stuff where they're just trying to like delay accepting international students because they want to make sure, 100% sure, that there's no South African person left behind or something. So they'll like leave international students for last, and they'll try not to accept international students like for job offers and that kind of stuff. So overall, I think my experience was very comfortable.
After the break, Tepo Ramayile wanted to kill his mother. Weed might be legal. Do you know why? Which type? And what does this mean? Is this a new industry? Will there be new jobs and businesses? We meet some insiders who are inside the story.
Police arrived on a tip-off that we had some sort of laboratory going here. They took us to jail for the weekend and they charged us with possession and dealing.
Keep the channel locked on Mzansi Insider. You know what it is, Mzansi Insider.
It's a new age, which means new things are happening. So recently, news broke about the legalization of medical marijuana.
Don't know why there's a level of excitement there in the office today. We look at this new field of industry. Could this be the dawn of the weed revolution? Can we even say such a thing? Take a look at this.
Recently, the government gave it the green light at looking at legalizing marijuana, and is currently awaiting confirmation of the judgment from the Constitutional Court and possible introduction of the new bill in Parliament. We met some insiders who are on the front line of this industrial revolution.
It was August 2010 and the police arrived on a tip-off that we had some sort of laboratory going here. And they found two middle-aged old people in their pajamas and they subsequently found some cannabis. And after a 5-hour ordeal at the hands of what I call the Rottweilers, they took us to jail for the weekend and they charged us with possession and dealing. And, you know, we had a bit of time to think about it and they were calling us criminals and all we were doing is smoking weed in our lounge and we weren't hurting ourselves and we weren't hurting anybody else. So we decided to fight the law and this is now 6.5 years later.
We started off by suing 7 government departments and we charged them with enacting unlawful laws because these laws were inherited from the apartheid government. We're out on R1,000 bail each. Then the next part of the journey was to form an NGO because this isn't just about us, Julian and Myrtle. This is about all South Africans, no matter what you use this plant for. Whether you use it as a responsible adult, whether you use it as a rasta, whether you use it for your medicine, or whether you use it to make socks if you're growing hemp. And now we're very excited because we are hoping that the last postponement has already happened and we will be in the Pretoria High Court starting on the 31st of July this year.
We've left our jobs, we do this full time and we basically run from day to day on donations and people stop orders and sponsors, and every day is a fundraising day. We would like to achieve complete retirement and not be any part of the cannabis industry whatsoever.
There are insiders that have been calling for its legalization for spiritual reasons, arguably one of the longest fights, seeing that they live in a country where the right to practice their religion is recognized.
Rastafari is one of the South Africa's constitutionally recognized religions. In our multicultural, multi-democratic, multi-religious, multi-faith, we are part of interfaith movement, you know. But in the same time, we get searched by the police. You know, when you say Rastafari, it is not illegal. Rastafari comes with ganja and everything. Doesn't come with alcohol. You can't say Christians must come and leave their wine outside, you know, their sacrament, because you have laws against liquor and all that, you know.
Personally, I've been arrested by police before, you understand. So I know even the treatment that they give you as a Rasta is not the same treatment that they would give any other civilian, you understand? Because now you get targeted even even if when you get to prison there's already marijuana there, but you'd be targeted for bringing it there, you understand? So it's some of the challenges that we face that the authorities impose on us.
Well, cannabis is an integral part of Rastafari culture and way of life. We use for spiritual to connect with one another when we share our chalice or we share our kuchus, whatever we use to observe our ritual of marijuana smoking. Cannabis is also work as a medicine. You know, we boil it when our kids are sick, they have flu, all this type of respiratory related diseases. We boil it as a medicine. And cannabis is a cash crop, because most of us are unemployed and unemployable, so we have to sell it to survive. This is for the healing of the nation. They just come 2 years, 3 years back now, they talk about the medical innovative bill. You know, the medical marijuana.
Them legalizing it for medicinal use is the same as them legalizing bushweed, which is something that the Rastaman doesn't use. You see, we rather put bushweed in tea. I don't see anything benefiting the Rastaman and the Rasta community.
Many might not know this, but there are many types of marijuana and different types of sub-products. Should it be legalized? What are some of these products and what will they be used for?
Well, it's not been a thing that's been long and available to everybody. So before that, people used to use the flower. There are different types of cannabis oil because there's 22,000 different recorded cannabis strains and much more growing every single day. Each one has its own medical benefit. This is the raw product, the one that we use to make the cannabis oil. This is the oil that you'll see on internet most of the time called, there's different types of ones. You get your RSO oil, you get a
butane ash oil. There's lots of different extraction methods.
This is the one we use mainly for cancer patients. It's very strong. They only need to use 1/4 of a rice grain a day. Then this is what we call a cannabis infusion. So we take the cannabis oil, mix it with organic coconut oil to make it easier for us to apply and easier for us to administer. And this is then also for your ailments that do not require your raw oil, like depression, anxiety, sleeping problems, that type of thing.
You want the dosage to be controlled and you want it to be fairly low.
With a 20 milligram capsule that you take before you go to bed, your first 3 nights, you might have a little bit of a head effect, but that's when you sleep, you don't experience that. After that, your body builds up a natural tolerance to cannabis. So I can start giving you more if necessary or keeping you on the same dose. Where most people stay is on 1 capsule a day.
Next, we have a pain balm. Now this is a topical balm, so we're going to just apply it to the top of your skin. If you've got a muscle aches or even skin disorders, then this is what you're going to use. And then the last one is a vitamin E cream containing cannabis as well. This is excellent for scars, for tattoos, psoriasis, what is the...
Skin cancer.
Even light forms of skin cancer.
So we want people to take their health back into their own hands.
After the break, our parents talking to us about sex, the way we should be hearing it. Then we meet a man who says anger almost drove him to kill his mother.
The anger and hatred was so much in my system that I walked in the street for years with my face freezing in a state of anger.
Keep the channel locked on Mzansi Insider. You know what it is, Mzansi Insider.
Hate and anger, how far can it push you? Today's I Got Over It is one about the power of hatred and the power to overcome it. After being consumed by hate because of an abusive relationship with his parents, he planned to kill them. This anger was so strong that he even set a goal to do it before he turned 30. Thankfully, he didn't. But unfortunately, he did take the life of someone else, landing up in jail.
And I'm sitting with Tepo right now. Tepo, who's it in Pichaka?
I'm fine, yourself?
Gimnat.
Sharp, sharp.
First things first, my brother. Let's speak about relationship. How was that?
Right now, relugishije. Mara there it was very bad.
No, it's a lang problem with relationship in your.
It was a matter of magam tolorong oja abusive as a child, and ila olaga that anger and hatred yona. And the way she was betrayed by my father. Come hollering after he left to marry another woman. And then it put some more anger in her system, hollering ila ngurisha kauntaisha and abuse. So much more hollering the way Vampetaga she was convinced that I would tell my father. And in a way, I was being punished for his sins.
Oh.
I later ran away from home.
How old were you when you left home?
I was much older. My auntie. Then got some time there.
Okay, so no more
and then that fear developed into hatred. Then
so I heard of a plan that you started to create when you were younger, right? and you were plotting. Let's all speak about Bleni Enunalio.
By the time I was a teenager, the anger and hatred was so much that the abuse was so much that I started being depressed. I started hating everything and everybody, and women the most.
Okay.
Then later on, Antima Dijo for 14 days.
Kantlu.
Every day.
When how did you told you Why not so?
She was punishing me, she was overdoing whatever she was doing. So as I grew older, I hated her so much, then I started developing the thought of taking her life. Both of my parents, actually.
Both of them?
Yeah.
So when you're plotting, what kind of things are you thinking of? So you obviously have to think of how you're going to do this.
Yeah, you know, chapter 16 in my book, who needs to die first, my mother or my father? That's the name of the chapter.
Whoa.
Then that's where I've acknowledged how much my parents have killed me inside. And they also don't deserve to live.
Yeah. Who did you decide?
I needed to kill my father first because he played a bigger role. If it wasn't for him abandoning my mother with 2 children and leaving to marry another woman, our situation was going to be a little bit better. And again, I'm a promise of Rukamisha school. Matlogela mereko aya school, and then papas are some for shelter school, your patelas the feaster school, or some for shelter cruiser, some for sale, or go to so. And mind you, she was raising 2 boys, unemployed, as at a school, Molo Ribabe Reka. So Namble Engele about that much. So then at the thought of it, my father betrayed me more than my mother. So I was supposed to kill him first, then later, you see.
What was the plan? Mara, it will always hit you, but that's my dad. That's my mom.
I wasn't thinking of the outcomes or the consequences of it. I was ritually dead.
So did you follow through with your plan? Because I bet that's what everybody's thinking. Did you kill anybody?
Sadly, so I ended up taking one woman's life, something that I really regret, and I really want to make peace with the family, for them to forgive me, because Kitsola mo loring ke akwishisha ron ke wa khoseditse trouble in chigudur ka bola ngwana bona bona.
Who's the woman?
The woman was my tenant, but she was forcing herself into my place because e begin the flat anaga pleke nya ka senyo patala rent and rege demand a chat antshepisha ro tla mfaneng nakwa she seduced me to have sex with her, and the following morning at 10 at nagam rapile. Then kaya mapulisa inkere motho wa blackmailer ba pala go montsha ka flat nya ka di lawyering agil ka mtla la di lawyer aftlhalegila pele ga ka mpetha ka lona. It put me into another phase, you see.
All right, so I'm seeing almost a common thread here, because although you didn't kill your parents, so would you say this became your coping mechanism? Is this how you dealt with situations, with the violence?
I wasn't trying to cope with it. The situation made me feel like I was in a point of no return. Then sadly, I ended up taking her life, something that I really regret.
Yeah.
You see.
What were the consequences after you killed this woman?
I was arrested same time in the scene.
For how long?
I spent 7 years. Karatrong.
How old were you?
I was 21, around 22, 23.
Was this the turning point in your life when you were arrested, or did it happen in prison? What changed in you?
I can say, I got about the devil is a lie.
Yes.
So Jesus Christ knocked into my heart, and I opened for him, and I welcomed this new king. I can say he touched me. gas no ex no amogela ka rapelo ka ke thomile bona di revelations wa bona bophelo ba ka why ke sepeletse so ke dile introspection yinch mo lo reng ke thomile bona lo jo lo reng be sa khone di bona before wa bona ke mtholo ke phela ka di research botsebotse media di kuranta wa bona ke thetse di radio ba tlhalosa ka mogolo reng South African men are abusive monsters who are maliciously abusing and killing their partners and children. Then I thought to myself, nah, there must be something wrong in the minds and in the hearts of South African men. What is going on? I'm one of those people because I had so much anger and hatred against women.
True.
No one.
True.
So let me put it in a book.
Yes.
In writing. South African men are monsters who are maliciously killing and abusing the partners and children because I was one of them. As you can see, subtitle, the cycles of anger and hatred.
Yes.
Here, the parents, this is how you push your children to grow and kill you. You might be next and not knowing it. These are the reasons why marriages don't last. Because with us growing up with that anger and hatred in our system, we later enter into our relationships and into our marriages with them. And later we abuse our partners and children and we kill them. These are the reasons why South Africans are so violent. How serial killers and serial rapists are created.
Yes.
Not this one. Serial killers and serial rapists are not born, but they are created in our homes.
So it's not just your opinion. You've actually researched some of the facts as well.
A lot. Because after presenting it on the radio, men started calling and confessing on my cell phone and saying, I was about to kill my partner and my in-laws, but I changed my mind after listening to me presenting presenting this book. A lot of them.
So you actually inspired some people to change. Lastly, what would your advice be to all the young people who have anger in their hearts and something that stemmed from home? What is your advice?
I can say, you know, in a psychological point of view, when you're consuming anger in your system, it's not like someone is forcing it into your system, but you are allowing it to dwell in your system. You can say unwillingly so, but anyway, because you took part for it and now from there, when you anger and hatred, your first enemy is yourself. Then everybody else follows. You'll start hating everything else. You'll even go as far as hating yourself. That's why one about to lie, because they're hating themselves
so much that they can't live with it anymore.
They cannot live with themselves. That's why they're destroying themselves. You see.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Yeah, same to you, man.
Next, sex. What should our parents be telling us? Are they being real with us?
I think my parents just thought if they were to educate me more about sex, I obviously want to do it.
Like the older people don't feel comfortable talking about it.
And later, Mom Lily and Dube have a lit conversation.
Keep the channel locked on Mzansi Insider. You know what it is, Mzansi Insider.
We're back. One of Mzansi Insider's most favorite topics, sex.
No, but what is our relationship with sex education, yeah?
Absolutely. So we're talking the taboos, what our parents don't tell us, and owning your sex life only when you're much older, even though you have to make the decisions about it very early on in your life.
So we've got some cool insiders who are joining us today. Hi guys, how you guys doing?
Good.
I'm gonna come to you, because you're like in the medical space. What is sexual health?
I think when one has to define sexual health, you think of like well-being in terms of sexuality, in terms of sex in itself, as well as just the understanding the health, the repercussions, and being comfortable to speak about it, being comfortable with the topic of sex.
I want to understand what the fear for the parents is to have the conversation. So do you think parents fear it more because of the details, or is it just like they don't want to give you knowledge?
Some parents are very open about sex. They'll tell you everything. that you need to know from the moment that you get your first period as a woman, what it is, what that means for you. But some parents are not. So it just depends on where you grew up. I know, for example, there's other households where they talk about virginity testing and what that means and why you shouldn't have sex and what it means to not have sex and what it means to be a virgin until you get married. So it just depends on where you grew up. So some parents, they're willing, they're open about the whole sex talk. I know I've never had the conversation at home.
So you
because
never ever?
No, never.
Do you think it had a bad effect on your life?
No, I don't think so. I think it made me want to know more about it for myself. I read a lot about sexual health and what it means for myself. And I learned from school as well.
Gents, did you have the sex talk, Ekaya?
Well, personally, I also didn't have the sex talk, but I think for me, it was more of a, I think my parents just thought if they were to educate me more about sex, I obviously want to do it.
So do you guys feel like we learn from our friends and from school and the environment? But how dangerous is that? Because obviously we're learning from our peers who probably also don't know as much.
I think the biggest problem is the gap between the generations. So like the older people don't feel comfortable talking about it, and then you end up getting information from somebody who maybe watched Bold and the Beautiful, like you're talking about Rick and Brooke, and they defined what sex is and then passed it down to us. So I think the whole trickling down effect now has reached a point where if you ask a 9-year-old about sex, the things they'll tell you is very, very worrying. And you ask yourself, where does this actually come from? And then you realize that because our parents never spoke to us about it, we got it from TV. The whole concept of sex is really, really not understood fully at this point.
So do you think kids now being more exposed to sex is having a trickle effect on society's mentality when it comes to sex?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think we are a more sexual nation at this point?
You know, when you used to see a scene on Generations, people kissing, you close your eyes when you were sitting there.
Or like the remote just automatically gets, you know, like change the channel.
Oh, now when you see it on Generations, you're just like,
So, no, I think we especially social media has really changed the perspective of how people, even young people, look at sex. Because you see girls in nice bikinis and you're thinking, whoa, where's the king? Now I want to be that girl. I want to have that sexual appeal. So it changes. It's really changed from 10 years ago to what it is now. So definitely.
Like, is there like a fear where sex is concerned that's maybe stopping us from exploring it, 1, 2, learning about it?
I don't think I didn't grow up to fear it. I think I was taught more that sex was for people that were married. Like, it wasn't, if you were not married, you didn't have a right to talk about sex. So I suppose I feared it in the sense that I never wanted to engage in it until I was married. Then when you started growing up and talking about sex more and more and not experiencing it, but like talking to older people about it, that's when you kind of like, okay, this is not such a big thing. You don't have to wait until you get married, and if you do it, you shouldn't feel ashamed of doing it before you're married. Because a lot of the times we feel like if you have sex before marriage and you have a child before you're married, then it's like, especially for women, I think you're seen as you're loose.
So many of us, we're taught that sex is babies and HIV. That's what I was told. If you're gonna have sex, you're gonna get HIV, and then you're also gonna get a girl pregnant, and then you're leaving my house. So I did have that fear that, if I come back with a child, I remember even the day they took me to varsity, the only thing my dad said to me was, don't come back with a baby. That was it. That was our whole talk.
So our parents taught us, don't have sex, you're gonna be pregnant, or you're gonna get AIDS. What would you guys say as new age parents? What would your conversation be?
I feel like right now, at the age of about 12, 13, because they're already going to be exposed to it, I might as well sit down with them and explain to them that, look, sex is a process whereby a male and a male and a female come together and, procreate. However, you need to understand that if you're going to have sex before marriage, I'm not saying don't have sex before marriage. I feel like that's a decision you need to make by yourself, but understand the repercussions. Understand that there's something called HIV and AIDS. Understand that there's something called STIs. Understand that the intention of having sex is something biblically which is supposed to be in marriage. It's something that you're supposed to do in marriage. But like I said, ultimately, I can't force you to follow a religion as a child. I believe every person makes their own decisions, however, needs to live with the repercussions.
What would you say?
I would say that I would inform them, first of all. Like, I would inform them and tell them that I won't say to my child, don't have sex. Because if they do it, they're not going to tell me about it. That's the thing. So I would say, listen, if you have a boyfriend, let me know so that we can have a conversation with this boy. I want to know what they are going to do, so that if they say to me, Mom, you know, when I'm with him, I have this feeling that, you know, I want him to touch me in this way. So I can be like, okay, fine. So what are you doing about that? And have the conversation. I feel like we don't have the conversation with our kids. I feel like knowledge, as Vasani said, is the most important thing to tell your kids. Yeah.
Nice one. And last words from you?
I mean, I'm still Zulu. My dad did a great job.
Yeah.
Making sure that, you know, even though like we know like certain things, but like, I mean, there's certain things I won't accept personally. Like I won't. Nanomoas sex and all those things. I won't allow my daughter to just be out there doing.
So you're not gonna allow her to bring some guy in the house for you to have a conversation.
Never.
Guys, we're gonna have to cut it there. Thank you so much for having a conversation with us and sharing your thoughts, and hopefully rana how le udutse o mametse ne ha sa shela ndi televisioning batswadi ha re bue le bana re bue batswadi ke na go repa batsonga re khutla re tsela pele mona Mzansi Insider, because we're inside.
After the break, Mamlin Dube has a word for the it girls and guys of the industry. Next.
Ke bona talente ach. Ke wa re shwa fela ke bana be linti celebs. Bana ba di G-string.
Keep the channel locked on Mzansi Insider. You know what it is, Mzansi Insider.
Today's Insider puts passion in everything.
This is our power person. Check it out.
Starting her career in the 1980s, today's power person is a legend. Known for her charismatic energy and upfront, straight-talking attitude, she has entertained and educated us on TV shows and movies. Her role as Sister Bettina on Soul City has been one of the most iconic roles. Today, she continues to live life to the fullest, even spearheading the fight against cancer. She is the phenomenal Lillian Dube.
I have the honor and the privilege to sit and have a conversation with one of my favorites, Kibuaka Lillian Dube. The reasoning, it's because how hola o television hangata you gravitate towards but what's honan lo ena kapa ba hopotsang batho ba leng teng bophelong ba hao, or better yet, who sound like you. And it's been an absolute pleasure to point her out and say, and like I said, I've got the privilege of speaking to her today, looking like a Miss.
Miss what?
Miss Dube, I also be Mrs. It was only Miss.
Bon ha kgwedi fela mogolo wa ka ke tla re ba ska ba nne ya bona ba o fe wena.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us into your beautiful home. What was the big break for you when you said, okay, I love what I'm doing, I'm passionate about it, this is it?
That's a big break, it's okay. Mopeme. Khalek. Ngwanak. And I qeta monate wa yona e ngotswe ke ntate matlosa ne ke kena sekolo le bana ba hae ene ke story sa mannet le mme ba ratwang ha se gala hlokahetse.
Really?
Ke o jwetsa
why ntse o tsaka phishwa ga mare go event tse re di tsebang tse teng
ka se mo di tseba
le mpotsa
ke re lona le tsa bo Shakespeare
the thou
bo John Keats
the thou
ona re tseba di pshamati bo ntate ga ke tla ngwana
pshamati.
Yes,
what does that mean?
Ke di buka tsa Sesotho
pshamati ke tsa fela mampudi
bua ka ntwa mabano bua ka nyeo ka mshangano no la hlokagala
mampudi ne ke tsa mampudi
no rona re tseba bo sogana sa jwala nna bo tholwana tsa step.
Okay, I've heard about that one. I've heard about that. If you were not doing this, watch. I'm sure when the credits roll on some of our favorite, sitcoms, squeezers, and we see your name, because it encourages that there's more to just being on camera. There's and hangata batho television sekare ho fella mon.
Yeah. Nna ke tsentse ngata hampa no le ke a fihla. Ke tswa sekunda kwana. Okay. Ne ke tswa motivator batho ba embalent.
Okay.
Hore ka nnete hore ha ona mosebetsi lefatsheng mona e ka reng ha o gola ha fedi a kgwedi fela o bothaba e ba dikoloto di patetse ka ofela go lo tshwanetse o etse dintho tse ding ka thoko. Wele ke ba motivator he. Hobane nna ha ke soka ke etsa mosebetsi o le mong.
Okay. Ke batla ho bua hanyane about the industry and the way it is now. There's it girls, it guys. There's a tendency of pursuing the way you look. Kuro tola batho ke bo mamutunali di followers 100,000. That's why I told mosebetsi o. When how sheba industry hona tjena ke ngetla monahano. What do you think of the status of the entertainment industry right now?
Neti go jwetsa na ngwanaka. Batho ba ke ba bona television ka jeko. Ke be ke re kgakganene. Ke bona talente ach. Ke wa re shwa fela ke bana be linti celebs. Bana ba di G-string. Fela ha ho tla di performancing. Ai, ha ke re ba tswa sekolong, ha ba tshwane le rona. Ka nnete, o tla fumana ke dutse ntse ke konya mathe ke re bana banna. Ke bona improvement e kgolo. Taba ya di Instagram tseo le di gram tseo. Di lokile o tsamaya le dinako. Gore ke ba khutlela morao a ke re o theno ka ha phalle le morao ya pele jwale ha ona ntho enka enyatsang ba chemba ka jeko taba fela gore ba ithute hore ba hlomphe batho hoba na o le artist you are not better than anybody else.
Re ba jwang ka skalona consistency lona na le yona where it's years and years and years consistently in our screens seeing
you've got to be true to yourself. Television no bohloko ba teng ko hore ha o so tswile mo no ha o sana letho ba di diphako tsantse re di apara television ha se tsa rona well ha o so contract e fedile o ya dipampiring lo bolela tlo dipampiri ha wa tebelwa contract e a renew kapa e a fela
mane fella mo
e fella mo ene dipampiri di tla rekiswa motlango fela ha bana o fa le cent so ha o le motho o tshwanetse hore o be le plan B.
That's all.
And happy o tsebe le hona film industry mo ba o shebile ha o la ba sukudisa o tla ikutla o kwalla ka ntle o swabe.
And the industry is small.
Yes.
It's very, very small. Something you're very passionate about and over the past couple of years you've been very vocal about is breast cancer because of your own experience.
Yes.
Are you still doing drives? Are you?
Ha ona mohlaketla tloela hona go letse maobane ke ne ke ile man North Cliff ba lo ruta o tantsa ngwana ka ketsa bo ntho tse kotsi.
Tantsa o ya kae?
Manyo re tsa fundraising ka di 14 ke tlo mema tsa June. Ke be re ntse competition.
They're dancing.
Of course, raise the funds. Winner now, winner, whatever. O tshwanetse o re support. Young one ka ke tsa ntho tse kotsi ntse ke.
Ono tsende go beng ka wena no tsa di tango mos. Ono tsa di tango.
Ka ke tsa lebo 1 2. Monato mokalo ha ona tona to look out on South of Face monato mokalo ke ke le 16 ngwana ka kapelong ka mona le motho a ntang ona le pelong ntle ona le motho a responsorileng ka course ya dancing.
I know because it was your personal experience ya feta tabengena ya kankere but you took it further. You could have healed, gone through your own process and kept quiet. What was the reason for you to be vocal? Because I feel that that's also a decision.
Modimo o ngahauhetse ke la ka mokopa ho ntate Duma o na etse a prayer session ntate Duma le Soul City hona SABC mo le ha bitswa batho ke rapello re ke fole ha ba le nna ke ba joina hanka ba kaya ne ke sa batho ba bona ba lla ba no to ba ne ba se gitla nna ka re ska ba ke ba tlolo bona fela se khutlwaneng sa ka ka ntate Modimo ke a o kopa o ko bontshe batho bana ba ha o re Modimo wa me hauhelo o ngahauhele ke ska ka hlokala le bashangana bana ba dikhaga tse Krista mo ba le ba ntwetsa ba re mbelile no ke ba shwa re rapelletse and I believed them jwale ka bona motho o motho ka batho ha ile mona nna ke tsebile o bona cancer ka baka la Soul City e re ke rute ba bang hobane cancer ha e qala ngwana ka ha e bohloko ha e ba bohloko o tsebe hore e se ikane e se entse o ska ba tshoa bane ke a tseba matswele a bohloko o ska ba tshoa ha se matswele ka fela a bohloko a leng cancerous fela taba gore o tshwanetse o etsa mammogram ke yona e tla o jwetsa na ho jwang jwale letswele le na le cancer ngwanaka ha ona mo leng bohloko ka baka la Soul City ene re ha ke le ka bateng ka matswelana ke nnete matswela ha le ka ne pat ka fumana hore is o so bona hala haholo ya ba kere ka utlwa hore le petenyana mo ka nnete ka tseba ba ntse ke le motho a tsamayang di-mammogram tsa selemo le selemo.
So the yearly ones, yeah.
Eo ke rutuwe ke Soul City. Kwele ke ba bakae batho ba sebeditseng le Soul City. Ha ba bangata ke nna. So ka bona hore nna ntate Morena Modimo ha o ka mpoloka nna ke tlo create awareness. Wa tsaya ke reng mo Modimo o beileng teng o bo thaba. Hobane ha ke be mohau wa hae wa o tloela.
Amen.
Yes. Lefatshe is a beautiful place. Le tla etswa botlekeng ha o rata batho. Hobane ha o sheba motho go le ka o le sephoqo fela ko rata.
Ona ngitsa.
O ntlisetsa khotso ka pelong ena ya ka. Wa utlwe ha ke bona ditlololo tsa ka hlenna ke. Ke bona setlolo sa.
Ba jwetsa television hore ke setlolo sa. Hantle wa bona. What's about everyone is like, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Ngwana ka ska tsamayang hleng ka lerata.
Nna ke sa la ke re ma re camera ga di tima mama.
Salang ka fela.
O tlo ba file di banana nna o so mfile di banana.
Di teng tsa mo.
Oh, okay. All right. Ke lo ja di banana.